gonna go on a train ride again. Like the old channel before it turned into the trucking channel, this channel's more towards the recreational / entertainment side of things. We're over here at 1880 train ride down in South Dakota, or over in South Dakota, more like it, not down, that's like south. And we're gonna go take a ride, hopefully on a steam train today. So that's the basic plan. The whole reason for this entire vacation was to basically chase down steam trains, with the ultimate goal later on, right towards the end of the month of August, to actually go check out the Union Pacific Big Boy 4014. I didn't even know this was here. So we were riding around on bikes, just like I showed you in the previous videos, and we come across it. So we're gonna take it for a ride. The way it works basically is here in Hill City, the train departs its main depot and goes across the mountain over to Keystone, which is off where we were taking the motorcycles. So it goes back and forth, and we're gonna take a back and forth ride. Let's get and check it out.
Oh, you guys ready? Us right there. Our ride is Bluebird.
Basically, we get on the Bluebird, which is that car.
Okay, awesome.
Yep. So I asked the guy, he said, yeah, they do put on water each and every time they come over here, so we're gonna get and check that out. I guess similar to the way they do in Strasburg, they unhitch from the front of the train, bring her over, and then reattach and then pull it forward. We've seen it come backwards, so now they're gonna attach to this end of the cars and pull it back towards Keystone. So we're gonna get and try to get them catching, filling up with water. See, this type of locomotive doesn't have a tender. He's like a Camelback type. He's got his water tanks on the outside of his boiler. I'm assuming in the back here is where it would be coal if it was a coal burner, but they use recycled waste oil for the fuel source. Obviously you need water. I will ask what kind of treatment they put in the water. We watched them dump some kind of treatment inside it. So that makes some kind of sense for those that know boilers and steam trains better than me. But that's why this train isn't lit different. As far as that's what makes this train different between its fuel source and where it stores its water. And that's probably why it has to refuel, or rather re-water, every time it goes to and from, as opposed to the trains we see on Strasburg. Well, because they obviously carry a lot more water. Also, this trip is an hour from this station to the next, and then an hour back from that station to here. We just did a round trip, 2 hour total. So obviously he's going to use a lot more water and fuel for that trip. That's about the time I need to get running, or I might miss my train. Plus I gotta clean the lens, I got water on it.
The mascot we're called the Rangers, but what's really cool, our high school seniors, well, they graduate at Mount Rushmore. It's a great picture and a great photo op. And we're taking off on our journey into Keystone, so sit back and relax.
Once again, welcome on board the 1880 train. As the train pulls out of station, look around at the granite peaks and thick ponderosa pine forests surrounding you. An army expedition led by George Custer turned up gold a few miles south of here in 1874. Within months, there were thousands of miners, mule skinners, pedans, gunslingers, and gamblers swarming across the landscape, eager to get their hands on some of the shiny yellow metal. Please sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride aboard the 1880 train. With us, you do not need to worry about anything else. Let us do the driving. This is the best attraction to spend time with family and friends while enjoying the Black Hills, just like the early pioneers, miners, and settlers did when they discovered the West.
So as we leave the yard, you can see a lot of our other equipment. We've got our diesel 104. If you look out the left side, there's good old number 7. Well, you see number 7 the movie star, and we'll hear all about that later. Now, folks, you probably heard that whistle blow. Even if we've got the windows closed, it can be pretty loud. You see, it had a pattern. It's 2 long, 1 short, 1 long, and you're going to hear that every time we come to a crossing. This road right here is called Old Hill City Road. On our trip, we're going to cross it 14 times today, and then we signal at some privates. So, all told, above 20 times you're going to hear that whistle blow.
So named because a huge tin processing facility was erected here by the Harney Peak Company. The grade of the track deviates from 4 to 6%, making this one of the steepest railroads in the United States. This puts considerable strain on the locomotive, and the engineer usually takes this opportunity to blow sand through the locomotive's boiler flues to cleanse the soot from them.
Now, folks, you may be looking out that window going, it's raining. Why did I pick today to go on the train? Well, you see, it's actually a little bit better because when it rains like this and it's this overcast, the animals really like to come out and feed. And there's a high possibility that you're going to see a lot of our wildlife. Deers, look for those deers. The deer out this way, they're white-tailed deers. If you see them run, they've got a big, beautiful white tail on the back. As we get closer to Keystone, they have some kind called mule deers. They've got looks like a mule deer. I might like to see that too. It's actually flat on one side. Well, when the sunlight comes out, if it does, and yes it does out here, but when the sun comes out and it hits that flat side of the needle, well, that sunlight is absorbed and it looks black from a distance. That is how we got our name, the Black Hills. In Native American, Then there's that Kennedy house that he wanted to show you. Yep, that house served a lot of different purposes, and we've been told that private individuals have now purchased it and they're trying to restore it.
Shaft dove 800 feet below the Earth's surface. It was located at the A number of small placer mining operations existed here in 1875, and the ruins of some larger industrial mines dating to the 1930s are found to the northwest ridge, which is off to your left. Mining production records show that in 75 years, between 1876 and 1951, $666 million worth of valuables were taken out of the Black Hills. The most value was in gold, bentonite, pegmatite minerals, and sulfur.
So off to your left, if you want to take a look, there's a great example of a miner's cabinet. Looks like it had a couple additions, maybe the family group or the wife decided she needed a storage building. If you happen to have a hole in the side of the mountain, well, that's not the mine. See, the mine is higher up on that mountain. That's actually what we call a root or a root cellar, depending on what part of the country you're from. That root cellar, that is where the miners would put their provisions, and it would give them a pretty fair chance at surviving the harsh south Dakota winter. So that tungsten mine, it's just coming into view off to your left. As we pass it and go through the next crossing, take a look across the street for a minute. There's a pretty white house there. House looks pretty new. Well, you see, we've got a secret. Back in the day, we didn't have Menards, Lowe's, heck, we didn't even have Walmarts or general stores that you could go to. So you could buy literally anything out of the catalog, including a house. Sears Roebuck and shipped up to Jefferson The 2 billion-year-old rocks you see around you are much older than the 20 million-year-old slopes of the Rocky Mountains. All that's left of Oblivion. You see there's a weathered building with the green tin roof out to the right. That's it. That's all that's left in the town of Oblivion. Here's where the supplies would come and then they'd be utilized and spread out through the community. 57 as a passenger and attraction. That train and its cars ran on what is called narrow gauge track. It's 3 feet wide. Well, today you're riding on forward, and that allowed them to run both the standard and narrow narrow on the same track.
Places for a tree to grow would be on the very top of that one rock. Little trees on the very top of the rocks. For all the places for a tree to grow, be all the way up there.
is its steam, and that's an action that they call a blowdown. Rushmore. It doesn't look like the t-shirts or postcards, it's just a piece of stone. Well, and even though we can't see the train or Mount Rushmore from the train, if we happen to be on the train, or if you're up at Mount Rushmore visiting the presidents, listen carefully, because if the train is going through Echo Valley and the train blows that whistle, it echoes all the way up to Mount Rushmore. Into Keystone. So if you were riding this train anytime after that flood in 72 to 2001, your trip would have ended here. You could either get off and shuttle into Keystone, or you could return back to Hill City. In 2001, and now that makes Keystone our easternmost point of destination.
The eastern terminus of the 1880 train is now the town of Keystone. It originally began in the 1880s as a camp, a tin mine for the Hardy Peak Company. A number of gold mines sprang up around the gulch in the decades that followed, and eventually the town was officially founded. The town took its name from the successful Keystone mine, but most of the fame went to its neighbor, the Holy Terror mine. Before it closed in the 1940s, the Holy Terror Please utilize ramps that are in the down position. Walk straight off onto the platform, avoiding metal limbs inside the ramp. Do not exit your platform. Cross a chain that's been put up by the train staff. If you are staying on the train, please remain out of the aisle. Restrooms are available inside the depot, and other restrooms are located across the street. Thank you for traveling the Black Hills Central Railroad. If you are returning to Hill City, keep in mind we will be departing again in about 15 minutes. To switch the direction of your seat for the return trip, simply push the handle located at the top of the seat back. If Keystone is your final destination, we hope you've enjoyed your ride, and we look forward to seeing you again.
That hopefully will give you enough time to visit the facility, check out the depot if you'd like to. Now while we're here, the train is going to need to uncouple from the front and it's going to need to recouple, which is now the back, which will become the front. So we'll talk about that a little bit when that process happens. As you exit the train, if you wouldn't mind taking that seat back and just push it in the opposite direction, it will be fixed.
When we left earlier, I seen you guys put some kind of treatment in the water. What was that you put in there?
The oxygen scavenger.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Just fuck out run over.